In this. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining today. My name is Katie Robinson. I am a business analyst with AXON. So I'm working the Norfolk District Attorney's Office on their justice software deployment. And part of that is how they can share discovery downstream to y'all. And so what we're going to go through today is what is called our discovery portal. It's one of the ways that they're able to share evidence downstream to you. Via a cloud-to-cloud transfer so that you can actually view the evidence in the cloud before you download it to yourself. That way you can review it and then download it once you are ready. So with this disclosure portal, it is a completely separate site from the DA's office. So they're not going to be able to see you logging in and viewing the case or the evidence that you've received. Any cases that are sent to the disclosure portal are also only viewable by the person that the case was sent to. So you're not going to see anybody else that logs in and any of their cases that they received. You're only going to see cases that are sent to you specifically. So what you are seeing here on my screen is what the disclosure portal looks like. What you're seeing is my demo user here and any cases that I have received as the owner. When you use the disclosure portal and you get set up on this disclosure portal, you'll get an email from AXON letting you know that you received an invitation to set up your account on the site. So simply, it'll just be a username and a password, so your own unique login to the site to view cases that are sent to you. On the left-hand side of the screen here, you can see that you do have a user account information down here at the bottom. This is where your password information is going to be. You can update security settings. You can set up multi-factor authentication settings. So if you want to set up your multi-factor authentication to like a phone number instead of an email, you can do that under your user account. But you can see that these are going to show my cases that I've received. So simply all you are doing with these cases that are received is you can select a specific case to open up that case that you received. At the top of the screen here is going to be any information that was shared over. So in this specific copy that was shared over, you can see that there's a police number here. There is a description that was included. You can see with other cases, sometimes there's additional information shared over, and this is just dependent on what metadata was included on the case information. So you can see here that there were a couple of accused individuals, a court number. If I click on the show more here, it just pops out this case summary. So I can see that information here on another screen. Any cases that you receive when they are shared over, if there are any folders that were shared over and included, you're going to see that folder tree here on the left-hand side. So you can see that total case box here and then your folder tree. And so if there are any subfolders included, you'd see subfolders, any evidence that are inside of those different folders. You have a couple of different views in your case here for the evidence. So you can see this first tab on where here is evidence. It lets me know that there are 20 files that are included in this case. This first screen is the folder screen. So this is where it's showing me my folders and then any evidence that exists outside of those folders. The next table is going to be an actual table. So this view is just going to be the metadata information for those different evidence files. You do have a table settings that you can update. So there are some additional columns that aren't currently viewable on my screen just because I don't have them selected. This is unique to each user. So if there's specific metadata that you want to see and you don't see it, come over and open up this column settings and just make sure that that metadata is turned on. So you can add that specific information. You can also reorder those columns, but that way you can see all of that metadata that you want to see on that data table. The last view is a gallery view. This gives you a thumbnail image of the evidence files themselves. It's also going to show you your folder so that you could then go into that folder and see those thumbnail images as well. You do have the ability to search through the evidence files, so you can search based on that title field here. You can also go through and filter based on specific file types. So if you're looking for a video, or you can click that again and it unchecks it. You could then look for documents. So it gives you the ability to go through and search for specific files based on the file type. To open up a piece of evidence, all you're going to do is just click on that piece of evidence, and it is going to open it in the evidence viewer here. So if you have any video files, this then gives you the ability to play those video files right here in the disclosure portal. And you can go through on the left-hand side, you can see that you have the ability to scroll and go through all of your different evidence files that were received in this case. So you've got different videos, you've got images, you've got documents. You're going to be able to see all of them here. On the right-hand side, you're going to see a lot of the metadata information for those specific evidence files. So again, if you want to go through and review that metadata information, you're going to see that here. This is the same metadata information that shows on that table view, but now it's available to you when you view the evidence file itself. You can download a specific file individually from the evidence viewer. You also have audit trails for your evidence files. One thing to note is if the law enforcement agency shared over an audit trail to the defense attorney and they've shared that audit trail downstream, you can view those audit trails from the law enforcement agency. So you can simply at that point just hit download and it's going to give you that audit trail from the law enforcement agency. If I hit back here and go back to my case, I also want to point out the audit log for this case itself. So you could run an audit trail on the case once you've received it. And same thing, if the law enforcement agency shared over their audit trail from the case for when they originally created everything on their evidence.com side, and that's shared downstream, then you'll have access to that audit trail from the police agency. Once you are ready to download files to yourself, you have the ability to select those files. So you could simply select them all and hit download. And this is going to give you the ability to download everything into a zip file. You can include certain information. So if you have transcripts or audit trails available, you can include those. You can also generate a table of contents. That table of contents is going to be an Excel sheet, and that Excel sheet is going to list out every single evidence file that was included in that download. And it's also going to include a lot of that evidence metadata as well. So just to show you what that looks like. Give it a second for it to come through. All right, as soon as that download link comes through, I will open that up. Oh, you know what? It's coming through to a different email address. Let me share it from a different case. So when you go to log in, you can see it does have you sign in via a multi-factor authentication. So it's what it's going to look like when you first log in. So once you get that link to the disclosure portal, I would recommend just bookmarking that so that you have that for future use. But you'll just use your user credentials to sign in every single time. and then you'll see your cases. So I'm just going to download it again. That other one went to a different email address I'm not logged into. So that you can go ahead and download those cases to themselves. All right, while that downloads, do you guys have any questions?
I have a question. Can you just give us an idea of what would be involved, or what would be included in a metadata data table?
In the download link?
Yeah, you mentioned, yeah, just well, two questions actually. You mentioned the metadata table, then you mentioned an audit trail. I can only see so much of that screen. The
Okay.
writing's all kind of small. So I was just wondering, like, what information would be included that, like an example?
Yeah, let me pull that up and show you. Good questions. Sorry, I have two different user accounts and they have different permissions set to them. So just need to make sure I'm logged into the right one to make sure I'm showing you the correct. So for that metadata, so for a case audit trail, so if I just hit export audit trail and I run this audit trail for the entire time that this case is going to be here, this is going to be the audit trail for just the case since it's been in the site. So this is not going to show you like um, the any internal audit stuff from the DA's office. This is only going to show you like when your case was shared over. So you can see all of the evidence files that were shared over. And then you can see who accessed that case, which should only be yourself. And then if you were to initiate a download, then you would see that as well in the audit trail for the case. What you're going to see from other agencies, so this is going to be the law enforcement audit trail. So this is going to show you from the law enforcement side when they created that case on the law enforcement side, any evidence that was included in that case, any metadata information that they included at the case level. And then you can see that it was sent over, like when that case was sent over to the defense attorney in that audit, or the prosecutors in the audit there. So the audit trail for the evidence files themselves are going to be real similar to that. So you can run an audit trail on your evidence files. So you'll see these evidence files, the information when it was copied over to the disclosure portal. And when you access that file, you can see that each file is going to have its own individual SHA hash value. So that unique fingerprint for that specific evidence file itself. And then you'll have that law enforcement audit trail as well for when that evidence file was actually created. So when they actually created that file and it was uploaded to their system, and then you can see when they added it to the case. So you can see when that evidence file was actually created on the law enforcement side. For the metadata information, so let me show you what a table of contents is going to look like. So when you download the case to yourself, you're going to have those folders that were included. You're going to have your different evidence files, and then you're also going to have this Excel sheet. So this is just that table of contents. So you can see it's going to show that file name, the title, file type. You can see a lot of that metadata information from when it was recorded, who collected it, who uploaded it, who the owner is. So you can see that metadata that's available in that evidence viewer on this table of contents.
If I could get everybody to mute themselves, I would appreciate it.
Do you guys have any other questions you want me to go over in the disclosure portal?
Hi, Katie. I just want to respond to a question that I just got via email,
Okay.
just so the whole group has it. And I apologize, I was running from one meeting, so this may have been covered, but we're currently coming up with our system for how you guys are going to get access to it. We'll let you know once we have a form for you to fill out to get your login information. And we're in the process of rolling this out, so we're trying to work with police departments. Um, and moving forward on it. I don't have a specific deadline for when we're going to be, going live with every department. We're trying to kind of go department by department. So I hope that answers the question.
Do we have any other questions about navigating the disclosure portal, downloading that information, or what you can see in the disclosure portal itself? All right, perfect. So the information, just to touch on, the information coming over in the disclosure portal is not going to be any different from information in the, if a download link was just originally sent to you from the DA's office. The idea behind the disclosure portal is it's just going to give you easier access to that evidence straight away so you can view it instead of having to download that entire case to be able to even review the evidence. So it's just designed to make it a little bit easier for you to review that discovery before you download it to yourself. But if you are receiving a download link or a access via the disclosure portal, the information is going to be the same in both of those methods. All right, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to stop this recording.